Well, joining me on Rockposer.com on this occasion is a gentleman. If you're not familiar with his name, you are certainly familiar with his work, and that is none other than rock photographer Mr. Chadley. Welcome to Rockposer.com.
Thank you for having me. How are you today?
I'm pretty good. Thanks very much indeed, Chad. As I said at the intro there, obviously people will be certainly very familiar with your work. You are, I suppose, without sort of boosting your ego too much, probably one of the top rock photographers in the world.
That's what some folks say. I'm just a guy with a job.
I wish I had as much talent as you've probably got in one finger, Chad, if I'm honest. Because you're...
You know, I like to steal a line from the Smokey and the Bandit movie. An out-of-work legend and a bum look a lot alike some days. And I've been unemployed for 20 years now, or self-employed, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, but on the plus side, you're doing a job in inverted brackets that you love.
I do, and I don't remember who said it. It was George Carlin or George Burns that said, if you do something you love for a living, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's kind of how I try to look at it, because, you know, it beats working in a factory. Oh. But somebody has to work in a factory, and I've done that too.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Well, let's take you back in time, and I bet it feels like only yesterday. I'll take you back to 20 years, obviously, when it all kicked off for yourself, when you first sort of started using the lens in anger. So how did it all come about? Were you already interested in photography, and you tried other stuff?
No. When I started doing it, I was actually, my ex-wife and I owned a couple of tanning salons, and I was a foreman on a construction crew, and working in the Chicago summers. In the dead of summer, it was 110 degrees, and I was pounding nails on a roof. I kept telling myself, there's got to be a better way. And in the middle of winter, when it was 20 below zero Fahrenheit, I kept telling myself, there's got to be a better way. And as far as the cameras, I think I pretty much got the bug from my mom. I was always had a camera in my hand from way back in the 70s, you know, whether it was a Polaroid or a 110 or a 35. And as a kid, I was the one that always took pictures of our friends and we were partying or riding our bikes or our skateboards, whatever, sneaking them into concerts. And it just kind of developed from there. And I went and I shot the Kiss reunion tour, and I had front row seats. And I took a trip out to see my buddy John Five when he was in Maryland Manson. And I showed him some of the Kiss photos, and he said, man, you're really good at this. You should do it for a living. And I thought, yeah, right. How do I do that? And he hooked me up to go to my first NAMM show, and here we are 20 years later.
I guess it's, you know, it's all very well being able to use a camera. I mean, says I, who has sort of used it slightly in anger, so to speak. But you've got to have the eye for it. And if you haven't got the eye for it, then you're always going to miss that particular shot. How do you know, it's not something that really can be taught, is it? It's just something that sort of falls naturally.
You know what? It is, but at the same time, I'll tell you, I've never had any formal training. I've never taken any classes. I'm self-taught, and, you know, you can go to college for it, but as, you know, someone that was mentoring me 20 years ago said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And once I started showing him that my images were showing up in magazines, like I brought a photo in one day and asked him to critique it. And he pretty much was like, well, if you do this and you did that, it could have been a perfect shot. And when I told him that I had sold it to Guitar World magazine, he went, all right, you and I are done. I can't teach you anything else anymore because you've gotten farther than I have.
I mean, that's a perfect thing, beauty not a beholder, because I see things online where photographers are being critical of other photographers, sometimes in a good way, sometimes, unfortunately, in a bad way. And, you know, you look at a shot, and to some people, that shot will be, you know, the greatest shot they've ever seen. To other people going, yeah, but that's a bit out of focus here, or I don't really get what you're trying to do.
I totally agree with you. It's a very competitive industry, but, you know, art in itself is you know, look at a Van Gogh or a Monet or whatever, indeed. And then, you know, it's all in the eye of the beholder. But, you know, having said that, there's been several photos that I've sold to magazines or companies over the years that, you know, after setting them the first 30 that I liked, they picked one that I never would have thought, would have been something somebody would have, chosen to run as a magazine ad. So it's definitely, I mean, yes, there's an eye about it, but it's also, I don't know, self-expression, I guess you could say.
Yeah, sure. From a personal perspective, which do you prefer, colour or black and white, or do you just like a sort of a mixture of both?
You know what? I'd say it's a mixture of both. I mean, black and white has that classic feel.
Yeah.
Color gives the whole feeling of what you're seeing. So it kind of depends, I think, on how I'm feeling when I'm editing or shooting. I mean, I shoot in color and black and white at times, but, I guess that's the only way I can put it is, I think, if it's vivid and bright and the lights, strike just well, that's, the color is great. Black and white, it's the only way I can describe it. It's that classic look, when you see an old picture of Jimi Hendrix or Robert Plant or Randy Rhoads, it's black and white. It just gives that old school feel, and that's what I think it does.
I kind of tend to err more towards the black and white end. I don't know. I just prefer the look. Sometimes I just think it adds more detail and feeling to a picture.
It's kind of like acoustic guitars and electric guitars.
Yeah.
Electric guitars, you can get away, and be a little sloppy. An acoustic, it's clean. You're going to hear everything. Same thing, a black and white, you're going to see everything.
When it comes
to... You can't hide anything.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can't hide anything, and, it is what it is. It's two colors, and everything stands out.
When it comes to shots themselves, do you feel that some shots taken by photographers are over-edited? How do you feel when it comes to sort of tweaking the final product, so to speak?
Oh, boy.
I've opened a can of worms here.
I have had mixed feelings on that through the years.
Right.
In the beginning, it was all film, so there was no Photoshop, And as I started to transition, I always felt like over-editing was too much. I tried to just preserve what I captured. But I am just as guilty as anybody else of getting involved in, Photoshop and going a little too crazy. And I think in the right terms, it's art. I try not to do a whole lot to my live stuff, because it's, you're capturing what happened live and the way you saw it.
Yeah.
I think I do more photoshopping and more editing. I guess over-editing would be the word I use sometimes when it comes to my studio work.
Gotcha. I mean, I certainly see that some people, shall we say, seems to be a lot of overuse of HDR these days.
And it's I don't want to defer anybody or have anybody shit on me on it, but I kind of agree. I mean, it's how do I put it? It's new technology, and there's some guys out there that do just some amazing work, and they layer. It's almost like a recording studio, where they go in and they relayer the tracks of the guitars. Yeah. People can spend, multiple hours on one image. And if that's, what they like and their fans like and their customers like, and then there's some guys that's become their signature. There's a couple of guys I know that do their editing a certain way, and everybody's, they're known for the look of their images. I think I'm kind of been known for the same. I didn't know I had a style until people started to tell me. I just went out and shot what I liked and what I thought looked good. And I think there's some folks out there that, the younger breed, that are probably still trying to find their style. And, it'll come to everybody.
Yeah, I'm still waiting,
I
think.
I appreciate all of it as artwork, but, I have my own opinions on the over-editing and the HDRs and the layering and stuff. But that's why, there's so many of us out there doing it. We all have our own style.
As you're saying, it's a very competitive market. I mean, I see plenty of posts, certainly on some of the concert photography groups on Facebook, etc., where PR companies and some bands almost dismiss the value of a picture They're the first ones to cry havoc if someone starts pirating their music, but they're not prepared to pay a decent price for a photo.
There's a lot. That's a loaded question, because it is just like the music, and it's like, file sharing. Well, nobody in the music industry is selling records because everyone's willing to give it away for free, and you can get it online for nothing.
Yeah.
Photography and concert photography has become the same way. It's hard to tell people not to go out and try, yet when there's 50 guys in a photo pit, who's gonna pay for that when you put it up on your blog every day and there's 50 other guys in the next city and the next city and the next city? It's I feel for anybody coming into this today,
I guess it's do you think it's sort of almost past its sort of golden age then, in a way?
If you talk to a younger guy, he'd probably say no. If you talk to someone like myself or others, they would probably say yes. 20 years ago, I don't know if you're familiar with the photographer Niels Lozauer.
Yes.
He's a legend. And when I first sent him an email 20 years ago, he told me the same thing. Dude, there's no money in it. I hope you have a day job. I got lucky when I came in 20 years ago, because when I started, there were still only 2 or 3 of us in Chicago that I would see at a regular show.
Right.
And they were both already legends to me. Paul Matkin, that's the guy that took the Ozzy and Randy tribute cover.
Yes.
Gene Ambo, he's done hundreds of album covers for everybody. And, they all said the same. Like I said, for somebody coming in to, quote, concert photography today, I don't know how people are making a living at it. I've been fortunate enough to work for myself, for the last 20 years. And, forging relationships throughout the time. And it's, but I also tell up-and-comers too, look, I don't just do concerts anymore. I do a couple of weddings a year, but I like to shoot food. I shoot menus for restaurants in town. Okay. I do corporate events. I go to zoos. I do flowers. When I would tour, I'd spend my off days with my camera running around the city, taking pictures of stuff. Like, if you pigeonhole yourself as, well, I only want to shoot metal bands, you're closing your market. Yeah. Well, I only want to shoot, British heavy wave, and there's a lot of that in today's market also.
Absolutely. So obviously, you're doing a lot of stuff with Dime Bash, the charity, and I say obviously that's coming off the back of what was obviously a very, very tragic event, but off the back of that, a lot of good has come from it.
It has, I believe they started Ride for Dime about, 10 or 11 years ago. I got involved 6 or 7 years ago.
Right.
And about 2 years, in the last couple of years, we rearranged the board of directors to include myself, Rita, Jose Mangin, and Nick Bocott. I don't know if you're familiar. He's an English gentleman. He worked at Marshall Amplifiers for about 20 years. He was in the metal band Grim Reaper back in the day.
Of course.
And Daryl's best buddies. And we've done some pretty cool stuff through the years. Our last Ride for Dime we did in Dallas. And we had Corrosion of Conformity, King, Prong, a bunch of other folks. The Dime Bashes we've had at NAMM. We've had Phil and Rex and Dave Grohl and the Machine Head guys. We've had Lemmy, and we've had some pretty amazing, everybody from Skid Row to Disturbed, and we've had some pretty amazing players.
Obviously, the money that you're raising obviously is helping to further musical education in America. Is that something that you're finding is being cut back in schools, or is it still something that's being supported properly by the education?
We've actually, we work to help, put some instruments in kids' hands. But
right.
We've kind of redirected, and everybody has their own charities that we donate to. So, like, we've given to Animal Rescue for the Nashville event. The California ones we give to the Ronnie James Dio Cancer Foundation. We spread it out to a lot of different charities.
And of course, today is quite a poignant day when it comes to dear Ronnie James Dio.
Yes, it is. Rest his soul. Another, just like Daryl, one of the nicest guys you could have ever wanted to meet in the whole industry.
Unfortunately, as a gentleman I never got a chance to meet. I've got friends who met him, and they said the same thing. Just one of the sweetest, kindest, most intelligent guys you would ever meet, and was just an absolute pleasure, and would take time out of his life to talk to you about anything.
Yeah, both Ronnie and I.
There's never a fairness to life when it comes to this. When sort of the people who are the good people of the world get taken far too early. Words fail me. Really. I don't know what to say.
Sadly, I think Billy Joel wrote the song "Only the Good Die Young."
Yeah, that is so true. Well, going forward, obviously. Unfortunately, you were diagnosed with MS. You have my sympathy. Obviously, you know that I have my own medical issues. So I feel where you're coming from. But obviously, you're one of these people like me who's not, you're not taking it lying down, so to speak. But you're pushing ahead and doing as much as you can. And good on you.
Yeah, and the first couple of months, I kind of kept it to myself. I didn't. I mean, it was it's a heavy pill to swallow. But a very good friend of mine, a publicist here in the U.S., Nancy Sale, they do a benefit for her every year called Rock Against MS. Pantera's manager, Kim, she's had it. So I had a good network of people to talk to, and both of them were kind of like, look, it's your disease. You can hold it and coddle it and keep it to yourself. Or, I was diagnosed with diabetes about 10 years ago, and I kind of stood up and I raised some money for Diabetes Association, and I do some events for them. And they said, you can use the soapbox that you have to raise awareness and help other people. So that's I did the MS walk. I raised, $1,500 in just a short period of a couple weeks here recently. And we'll probably be... it's become a new mission in life, I guess you could say.
Well, as I always say to people, when people will say to me, how do I deal with having fibro? And I say, well, you've got two choices. You can go and crawl in the corner and oh, pity me, or you can just get on with things to the best of your ability, and if anything, help support other people with the same condition, which is, I think the best way to go.
That's pretty much what I did at first. I went, why me?
Yeah.
But couple of months into it, you're like, well, why everybody? So
exactly,
like they said, I can use the platform I have to bring awareness and help raise funds for myself and other folks that need help. I mean, it's kind of a shame that they don't have a cure for it. And my understanding is here in the U.S., I mean, there is no cure, but they're curing people in other countries with treatments, and that's kind of what we're going to try to do here for myself.
Do you find that, without getting too political, do you find that the American health system is somewhat a barrier for people with MS?
Can we say that?
Sorry?
Can we say that? Can I say, yeah, it's fucked?
You can, absolutely, you can say that.
On radio?
No, you can say, you say what you want.
The healthcare system here is definitely screwed up. I mean, I was a big proponent. Last year, I had an English bulldog that was diagnosed with cancer. They gave him 2 weeks to live. And I put him on CBD oil, which is, a derivative of marijuana. Yeah. And it was eating the cancer. He lived to be another year. I mean, the reason why? Because there's too much money in, the drug companies. Otherwise, who's going to pay for thousands of dollars of chemo when you could, find somebody that can extract it from a plant that grows in a field, And
I wish we could get that here. Shall we say, they're very scared over here. Anything, as soon as you mention anything like marijuana or cannabis, they're very scared. Now, the thing that annoys me, without getting too political myself on this matter, not that I'm too angry much, is that the woman who actually is in charge of the health service here, who decides that we can't get such treatments here, her husband grows it for export.
See, and that's what I'm saying. There's money in it. That's why they're...
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's not a cure-all, but our country is finally coming around. Our country is finally coming around on that. A lot of states are going legal. and it is helping people. I think they're just trying to figure out a way that they can capitalize on it more. And do I really want the government growing the weed that I smoke? No. Because we already know what they put in our food.
Well, this is it, exactly. Our NHS here is not perfect by any means, but my God, I'll fight tooth and nail to keep it, because I don't know how I would get on over your side of the pond. The cost of medical bills and stuff was scared the shit out of me.
Oh, shit. My diabetes supplies are already expensive, and now, some of the MS treatments are $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. If you have health care, that's one thing, and if you can get on programs, it's another thing. But it's you could take a normal man's living wage just to take care of your disease.
It puzzles me. I talk with I've got a lot of good American friends, some with fibro and some with other conditions and what have you, and we do talk about these things, and how do people cope in the States and what have you. And I say, I've seen some arguments that people said when they've tried to, obviously Obama tried to bring in, for better or for worse, his version of across the board healthcare, and people, it's almost like a selfish attitude for some people going, well, I'm not paying for him. Yeah, but it's the bigger picture. You don't get it.
Yeah, and it's still expensive, and if you have pre-existing conditions, it costs you even more.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They love that. They love that little bit of small print, don't they?
What's that?
I said they love that little bit of small print. Pre-existing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And then if you have multiple pre-existing conditions, they bend you over their knee and swap one in you.
So, what other plans have you got going forward? Have you got any other irons in the fire that you want to achieve or do?
Well, as far as career-wise, I retired from touring 3 years ago, and I spent a lot of years on the road for 3 to 6 months at a time, and I decided I want to stay home and work in my garden and ride my motorcycle and hang out with my dogs and whatnot. And it's these days I still travel. I like to do it shorter periods, but
sure.
We had a busy week here last week. I had Seven Dust on Tuesday night, Hailstorm in this moment on Thursday night. The Foo Fighters are here on Friday, and then I did Death Punch and Shinedown on Sunday. So it was good to get a camera back in my hands and get back to work for a bit.
Well, Chad, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I say, already was a fan of your work.
Well, thank you.
I say, as I said at the very start, to have just an ounce of your talent. If you ever look at my photos, you'll probably find 1,001 problems with them. But it's all about the enjoyment. That's how I look at it anyway. But I say, and hats off to you for all you do for charity and all the rest of it. And I'm sure you're one of these guys who's probably going to take MS by the throat and throttle the shit out of it.
That's what I'm going to try to do, because I'm not ready to go down yet.
Absolutely.
I got a lot of shit I want to do. And thank you for calling. It was nice chatting with you. And, anybody who wants to take a look at any of my work, they can find it at chadleephotography.com, or my web store is Big Cartel /Chad Lee Photography. Twitter and Instagram is Chad Lee Photography, and Facebook, Chad Lee Photography.
And I bet if some people look at those images, they'll realise that they are aware who you are, just maybe not by name.
You know what? When Natalie and I first started talking, she said the same thing. She said, when Deb mentioned your name, I didn't know you by name. But when I went to your website, she goes, shit, I've been looking at your picture since I was just in high school.
Exactly.
And it's still amazing to me. 20 years later, I started out just, having fun. And 20 years later, I'm still having fun. But I've been working for myself this whole time.
Excellent stuff. Well, Chad, you take care, mate, and I hope to speak to you again soon.